I call upon the Soviet Union today to reduce the tensions it has heaped on the world in the past few weeks and to show a firm commitment to peace by coming to the bargaining table with a new understanding of its obligations. I urge it to match our flexibility. If the Soviets sit down at the bargaining table seeking genuine arms reductions, there will be arms reductions. The governments of the West and their people will not be diverted by misinformation and threats. The time has come for the Soviet Union to show proof that it wants arms control in reality, not just in rhetoric.
This past Sunday, at 22 minutes after 6 Beirut time, with dawn just breaking, a truck, looking like a lot of other vehicles in the city, approached the airport on a busy main road. There was nothing in its appearance to suggest it was any different than the trucks or cars that were normally seen on and around the airport. But this one was different. At the wheel was a young man on a suicide mission. The truck carried some 2,000 pounds of explosives. But there was no way our Marine Guards could know this. Their first warning that something was wrong came when the truck crashed through a series of barriers, including a chain-link fence and barbed wire entanglements. The guards opened fire, but it was too late. The truck smashed through the doors of the headquarters building in which our Marines were sleeping and instantly exploded. The 4-story concrete building collapsed in a pile of rubble. More than 200 of the sleeping men were killed in that one hideous, insane attack. Now, I know another part of the world is very much in our minds, a place much closer to our shores. Grenada. Grenada, we were told, was a friendly island paradise for tourism. Well, it wasn't. It was a Soviet-Cuban colony being readied as a major military bastion to export terror and undermine democracy. We got there just in time.
Earlier this year, one event said it all. It took place at an air base in South Carolina, shortly after a plane had returned from Grenada carrying the medical students who'd been trapped at St. George's Medical School. As one student got off the plane, we all know he dropped to his knees and kissed the good earth of the United States. And nearby, there was a news photographer, clicked his camera and caught that moment for all Americans to share.
What if free people could live secure in the knowledge that their security did not rest upon the threat of instant U.S. retaliation to deter a Soviet attack, that we could intercept and destroy strategic ballistic missiles before they reached our own soil or that of our allies? I know this is a formidable technical task, one that may not be accomplished before the end of this century. Yet current technology has attained a level of sophistication where it's reasonable for us to begin this effort. I call upon the scientific community in our country, those who gave us nuclear weapons, to turn their great talents now to the cause of mankind and world peace, to give us the means of rendering these nuclear weapons impotent and obsolete.
Arthur C. Clarke, distinguished author of science and fiction, says ideas often have 3 stages of reaction. First, it's crazy, and don't waste my time. Second, it's possible, but it's not worth doing. And finally, I've always said it was a good idea. It's clear that recovery is strengthening and spreading throughout the economy. Venture capital investments have reached record levels. New businesses are being formed at near record rates. The stock market has awakened from a decade of disappointment to surge into new high ground. Sunrise industries are springing up like jackrabbits. Production in autos and steel is regaining strength. Housing starts in May climbed to the highest level in 3.5 years. Factories in May ran at their highest rate in 15 months. More and more workers are being called back. And as Al Jolson would have said, you ain't seen nothing yet. But there's an easier way to tell you that our program works, that recovery is here, and that the economy is beginning to sparkle. I've said this a few times before, but I'll say it again. Suddenly our critics are no longer calling the program Reaganomics. I believe that 1984 finds the United States in the strongest position in years to establish a constructive and realistic working relationship with the Soviet Union. We must and will engage the Soviets in a dialogue as serious and constructive as possible. a dialogue that will serve to promote peace in the troubled regions of the world, reduce the level of arms, and build a constructive working relationship. As I've said before, my dream is to see the day when nuclear weapons will be banished from the face of the earth. Last month, the Soviet defense minister stated that his country would do everything to avert the threat of war. Well, these are encouraging words, but now is the time to move from words to deeds. Thank you all very much. As I stand here, I can't help thinking about, well, back to this date 3 years ago. It was a winter day like this one, only colder because on that day we held the meeting outdoors. But as I look back on that January 20th, 3 years ago, I can't help thinking we have made a new beginning. I'm convinced that in 1980, America faced one of those historic choices that come to a nation only a few times a century. We could continue our decline, perhaps comforting ourselves by calling it inevitable, or we could realize that there is no such thing as inevitable and choose instead to make a new beginning. The American people chose the way of courage, and on this January day 3 years ago, this administration and all of you began to make a new beginning. Once again, in keeping with time-honored tradition, I have come to report to you on the State of the Union. And I'm pleased to report that America is much improved. And there's good reason to believe that improvement will continue through the days to come. Our trip to Japan, Korea, and later to the People's Republic of China makes you realize that the old line, "Go west, young man, go west," still fits. There's a new frontier out there. There is a future, and the United States is going to be very much a part of that future. One cannot meet with those people without realizing that they are tremendously capable people, a talented and energetic people, and I found that there was a great longing for peace among those people. I think that we can have a fine relationship. We do already, but we can keep that and build on that relationship. Whether it's with trade, cultural exchange, we can be mutually beneficial to each other. Well, thank you, Premier Zhao. The developing relationship between China and the United States has been one of the principal events of post-war diplomacy. Our visit has reinforced our appreciation for Chinese hospitality and for China's ancient and honorable culture. I'm delighted that now millions of other Americans will be able to see the artistic and cultural achievements of the Chinese people. Michael, welcome to the White House.